This guide is based on our experience assessing, building, and retrofitting over 100 miles of adaptive mountain bike trail in Vermont. Adaptive trail building is an evolving science, and while conventional best management practices for mountain bike trail construction apply, adaptive mountain bike design and adaptive riders' needs call for some important caveats and additional considerations. We created this guide to help normalize adaptive mountain biking and to inspire you to build adaptive mountain bike trails and to retrofit existing trails in your community to be adaptive accessible.
I'm an adaptive mountain biker.
I am an adaptive mountain biker. I'm an adaptive mountain biker.
I am an adaptive mountain biker.
I'm an adaptive mountain biker.
Adaptive mountain bikes, called aMTBs, are bikes that allow people with disabilities to ride and access nature. The rider chooses their bike based on their physical ability and the kind of riding they like to do. Adaptive mountain bikes put riders in a variety of positions on the bike, including sitting with their legs in front of them at a forward position with legs behind them. Adaptive bikes can be fully electric, pedal assist, or manual. Some adaptive bikes have foot pedals, most have hand cranks, and/or a throttle.
Adaptive mountain bike trails are trails suitable for everyone. They can be green, blue, black, and double black. They can be steep or flat. They can be pedal access or lift access. An adaptive mountain bike is for people who want the thrill of trail riding. It can also be used as a mobility device that lets people with different physical abilities access nature. Trails are adaptive friendly, but they're passable by an adaptive mountain bike skill level aside, provide an enjoyable experience to adaptive riders, and are free of significant fall consequences. Adaptive optimized trails deliver an intuitive and intentional riding experience. They are free of awkward corners, the trails limit or manage exposure and tipping hazards, and they have good sightlines for adaptive mountain bikes, which are typically lower than a standard mountain bike. Adaptive optimized trails can be ridden by an adaptive rider without interrupting the rider's flow on trail.
There are 6 design principles to keep in mind if you're wondering if a trail is adaptive. The first is width. If a trail is too narrow, a rider on an adaptive mountain bike can't pass without assistance and may not be able to pass at all. Adaptive mountain bikes can be up to 38 inches wide, so 40 inches is a good minimum to work with. The second is turning radius. Adaptive bikes have a long wheelbase and can't turn as sharply as two-wheeled bikes. Turns on an adaptive trail should be gradual and give adaptive riders space to turn without requiring a 3-point turn. The third is outslope. Off-camber and excessively outsloped trails, as well as obstacles on the inslope, can cause an adaptive bike to roll. The fourth is sightlines. Adaptive riders sit much lower to the ground, and they need to have a good line of sight into the feature or section of trail that they're approaching. The fifth is obstacles. Trails should be free of roots and rocks that sit more than a few inches above the trail tread, which can easily block one or both wheels of an adaptive bike's side-by-side wheels. Finally, fall consequence. While no one likes to fall off their mountain bike while riding, an adaptive rider can't blow a berm, brush themselves off, and push their bike back onto the trail. While adaptive mountain bikers sometimes roll or fall, it's critical to minimize the potential for falls and eliminate high-risk fall zones. Be sure to test trails with adaptive equipment before they're completed or designated as adaptive. It's all theory until you put actual bikes on the trail, and ideally work with multiple riders on different equipment.
Where trails have been built with good design principles, adaptive mountain bikes can handle anything. Making a trail adaptive friendly improves the riding experience for all riders by eliminating pinch points, removing excessive camber, opening up corners, improving sightlines, and providing wider bridges.
The main goal of adaptive trails is to provide adaptive riders the same experience as two-wheeled riders. What makes a trail fun is the flow of that trail no matter how technical, as adaptive riders shouldn't have to brake in spots two-wheeled bikes aren't braking, and being able to ride at trail speed versus having to slow down in sections where others wouldn't have to. Momentum is that much more important on a heavier adaptive mountain bike.
Adaptive trails can be made at any difficulty level. It's okay to have optional features on trails that aren't adaptive friendly, but if a feature can be made accessible, then it should. If a feature cannot be made accessible, avoid putting in awkward, poorly thought out go-around lines. Inaccessible features should be optional with the main trail flowing smoothly around them.
To make a network inviting to adaptive riders, that starts right at the trailhead. Number one thing you should think about, make sure there's no obstacles that are blocking the entrance to the trails, like big boulders or a gate. Having accessible bathrooms at your trailhead is key to making adaptive riders feel welcome.
Dedicated, accessible parking close to the trailhead is key for adaptive riders. Accessible parking should be signed and in a flat area so riders can unload, set up their wheelchair, unload their bike, and transfer to their bike.
Trail signage is super important for adaptive trail networks, and trail signage should be the same whether it's for adaptive riders or able-bodied riders. So if a trail is a blue trail, it should be blue for everyone. If a trail is a black trail, it should be black for everyone. Have detailed information about where the trailhead starts and wayfinding for routes that are fully navigable for aMTBers. And that's especially important if your network has some trails that are accessible and some that are not.
Bikes are one of the only ways that an individual with a mobility disability can leave the trailhead and reach viewpoints and other special places. If you can provide that access, please do.
Good 911 signage is super important in a network with adaptive trails. If an adaptive rider gets hurt, it can be a complicated evacuation. If possible, build a network of adaptive-friendly trails, not just a single trail. Just like able-bodied riders, adaptive riders love rideable loops and trails that go somewhere. The best way to avoid costly mistakes when you're building adaptive trails is to work with adaptive athletes in the process. Evaluate the trails before you dig. Rerouting adaptive trails can be expensive and difficult. Whether you're working with volunteers or you've hired a professional trail builder, have an adaptive sports professional or a skilled adaptive mountain bike rider vet your work during the trail building process. Don't wait till the end. Any trail builder you hire should ride an adaptive bike with an adaptive rider so they get a sense of how adaptive bikes roll. Add a clause to your contracts that specifies how and how often trails need to be vetted during the build process and before the trail is considered complete. Account for the cost of necessary modifications in calculating the cost to build the trail.
Existing trails can be made adaptive friendly even if they were not specifically built for adaptive bikes, provided they offer a safe and enjoyable experience for adaptive riders. An adaptive assessment is the best way to determine the potential of an existing trail. When we conduct an assessment, we bring along an experienced adaptive rider and spotter, the trail manager and/or builder, and a photographer and note-taker to catalog the necessary and optional upgrades to make a trail adaptive accessible. Sometimes terrain, property lines, or costs make upgrades impossible. Sometimes changes fundamentally alter the character of the trail, which you may or may not want to do. The easiest trails to make adaptive friendly have minimal outslope, few pinch points, and no major bridge issues. The best trails to upgrade are those that provide a great riding experience, and ideally loop or connect with other adaptive trails. Once upgrades are complete, and a trail has been vetted with adaptive equipment, install signage, provide trail descriptions, and add notes to trail mapping apps so that adaptive riders have the information they need to safely and enjoyably access the trail.
That's sick.